So today we are going to make a little fall landscape. We're going to make like almost a wood background, almost to look like a fence, and then we'll put a pumpkin and some flowers coming out. So you should have some paint. So you have black, white, orange, brown, and a little bit of yellow. The first thing that we are going to do is the background is going to be brown. It's going to be a mix of brown and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some brown with my big brush, and you should have a paper towel close by and some water close by just so you could wash and dry your brush. So I'm just going to go up and down with my brown, and as I'm painting with brown, I'm just going to add a little white as I go up and down. We want it to be kind of streaky. We're trying to get like a faux wood look. So streaks of different color is good. And I'm just going to cover the whole canvas doing this. Want to make sure your top is really nicely done, but the bottom so much doesn't really matter, like any of that white stuff, because we're going to put a horizon line on, and it's going to cover that. So when you're finished with the brown, you can wash and dry your brush, and we're going to add a horizon line now. So just towards the bottom, I'm going to put white on my brush, and instead of going up and down, I'm going to go left and right. So I'm just going to put a nice, about like a hand width up. I'm going to put a nice line right there. And what I'm going to do is with white, I'm just going to go left and right. And it's just going to become a slightly lighter brown. You probably don't need that much white, but it just gives us a change between our wood on our background and the ground. So once I have that done, and that looks pretty good, because you just want to see a change between the top and the bottom, I'm going to let this dry for about like 5 minutes, and then we'll start working on the pumpkin and getting all fun. For the next part, we are going to make our pumpkin. So you want to make sure your background is pretty much dry. I still have a few wet spots and stuff, but that's all right. So what we're going to do first, we're going to draw our pumpkins. We're going to do one big one, a small, and a smaller one. We're going to draw our pumpkins in white, and then we'll start filling them in orange. So I'm just going to use my big brush. I'm going to put a little bit of white just on the tip of it, and I'm going to draw my pumpkin. So about a hand width from the side, I'm just going to draw a nice skinny oval. And then I'm going to continue. So that is going to be the base of our pumpkin. And then I'm going to the left and right of it, I'm going to make a curved line. 1, 2. And I want to make the pumpkin a little bigger, so I'm going to put a second set of curved lines. There you have pumpkin number 1. And you want to make sure your pumpkin ends so this is the background and then this is the ground. It should look like it's sitting on the ground, so you want to make sure it ends in the ground. And then I'm going to make a little pumpkin right next to it. It's going to overlap with it pretty much. So I'm going to make a little, I'm going to change the shape. So I'm going to have a thicker oval. And then I'm just going to have one set of curved lines. All right, so now you can see how mine's getting a little brown. That's okay. Now we're going to start filling in with orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little orange on my plate and mix a little bit of white into it. White is going to help the orange cover a little better. So I'm going to start working from the outside in. So I'm going to do that first curved line. And it's making almost like a creamsicle kind of color. So I have my first curves done, and now I'm going to work on my next ones. So once I have my 4 curved lines, my 4 little sections filled in, I'm going to go back with some brown and add some definition. So what I want to do is I want to really tell like the different parts. So between each of the sections, so between that section and this section, I'm just going to put a line of brown. And then I'm going to go back with orange and just blend that brown into my orange. So that way you could tell the different parts of the section of the, even though this one's pretty light, the different parts. So next I'm going to fill in that middle part. And what I'm going to do is I'm filling in with the big brush, and then I'm going to go back with brown, and I'm going to pretty much outline my original oval. Outline it, and then I'm going to go back with that bigger brush and blend. Now I'm just going back and I'm going to put some orange on top of what I painted. Also going to wash and dry my brush. And in each section, just on the top of it, I'm going to paint a little white into it. So it's almost like a light spot. Just in the top, I'm just painting a little white into it. And I have a good amount of paint, so it might take a little bit to dry. All right, so I have my pumpkin there. I'm gonna let that hang out there. While that's hanging out there, I'm gonna start on my little guy. So I'm gonna use that lighter orange and do the outside sections first. And if it's really light orange, like that's pretty light, when we go back and add our details, we should be pretty dark, so don't worry about it. And then I'm going to fill in the middle section. And then I'm going to go back with my little brown. And I am basically going to put a brown line, 4 brown lines. 1 on the outside, 2 on the outside, and then I'm going to put 1, 2. And then I'm going to take my brush, my bigger brush, I'm just going to blend those with the orange. All right. And if you feel like you're not getting enough orange, you could let it dry a little bit and then go back and add a little orange. So our next step is I am going to take a little bit of black and brown and I'm going to mix them. You could do this just on like the cap of one of your paints. It's just going to make a dark brown, almost black because we're going to use this and make stems. I'm going to use my smaller brush to make my stems, and I'm just going to make a line going up, and then I'm just, you can't even see it that well, but I am just going to build the bottom of that. So I get a nice pumpkin stem. And it shouldn't go straight in the air. You could kind of make it leaning towards one side. So I'm using that dark brown. And then I'm going to go through and just to add a little texture to it, I put a little white on my small brush. And I'm just going to add some white lines in that pumpkin stem, just to give myself a little bit of texture. All right, so while we have our small brush, I am just going to, this bottom part, I just want to make it a little more lively. So I'm going to add some streaks of white in there. I'm going to add a little orange in there too, maybe. Some streaks of white. Gonna add some streaks of yellow as well. And it might blend with your brown because my brown's still wet and it's been drying for a while, but that's okay. Just want to give it a little color down there. All right. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make little flowers. So I am just gonna make a little, almost like a little marigolds coming out of here, not marigolds, mums, little mums. So I'm going to use my small brush, and I'm going to use white paint first. So in order to make the mums, and I'm going to make them over here, I'm going to make 2 of them. So I'm going to put a dot. I'll work on the first one. And from that dot, I'm using white paint. I'm just going to put lines coming out of that dot. Go around in the circle. So I'm going to do it in white first, and then I'm going to go back with my yellow and add just a little yellow on top. And then I'm going to go back and make another one. This one a little higher, white dot. And a couple of lines coming from that dot. And then some yellow from that. All right, so there we have our little mums. And then I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to take black. A tiny bit of paint goes a long way. And I'm just going to make black stems. If you can see, I'll give you a little close up. But you could also put more if you want. It like brightens it up a little bit. Could like fill this section in. While I have a tiny bit of black on my brush, I'm also going to put some lines in my background so it looks like slats of wood. So I have a tiny bit of black on my brush, and very lightly from the top, I'm going to put a line that goes almost to the top of my pumpkin, if you could see that. I don't know if you could see that. And then on either side of that line, I'm just going to divide, and I'm going to put 2 more lines. It's almost like it's like slats of wood in the background. You can see how wet my pumpkins are too. So at this point, we're going to let everything dry. I'm happy with my pumpkins and my color on my pumpkins, but if you want to make it a little more orange, wait till it dries a little bit, and then you can put a little orange on top. But I think our little fall scene looks great. So we have our little pumpkins. Mine has lots of texture right now because it's very wet. We have our little flowers on the ground. So the last step before we finish is you have to sign your artwork in the corner. And there you are finished. So happy fall. So I hope you guys had a great time and have a happy fall.